It is about 10 after 1 on this lovely Monday afternoon. I'm still in Colorado time where it's morning. And welcome to our webinar. Let me turn my camera on for a minute just to say hi. That is not my backyard. That's actually from upstate New York, but it's kind of an autumn-y thing that I thought I'd use as a background. So welcome to this webinar on Work for Yourself, as the AARP calls it, Work for Yourself 50 Plus. A note on the folks who have provided us with these materials, which is the AARP Foundation. The foundation provides programming aimed mainly at folks 50 and above, but it has resources like this that really, if you take away the 50 plus stuff, anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur can take advantage of. And so you can find out about the foundation at AARP Foundation online, or just go to the AARP website. And we thank them for their support in helping to provide us with these materials. Now I keep clicking all over my screens here. There are too many screens. Whoops. And who are we? We are the Business Center. The Business Center located in Mount Airy. Well, the date needs to be updated because we're now at 25 years. I thought I updated all this stuff. The Business Center is here, and its official long name is the Business Center for Entrepreneurship and Social Enterprise. And we provide all kinds of resources and assistance for folks of all ages, from young people on up to seniors like me, that can help you start, maintain, and thrive in business. And so the resources are there. We'll tell you some more contact information as we go along. But we've had well over 800 now adults and youth who have completed our entrepreneur courses. And many of these participants then go on to use our consulting services once they're in business to continue going in business. Okay, so what are we doing today? I mentioned, and there was that QR code, and there's also a link here to get the Work for Yourself toolkit, as they call it. And this is a nice, well-produced book that has all kinds of materials and information. And we'll be referring to this as we go through. If you don't have it, that's fine, because we'll explain what we're talking about. So what are we doing today? We have really 5 steps in this process. Exploring your options. If you want to get into business for yourself, what are they? Then finding a focus for the business. I have all these great ideas. Now, what do I do with them? Then taking those ideas and turning it into focus, and then how to make a plan. And then there are, of course, many warning signs and issues and potential problems that have to do with being an entrepreneur. And so there are things that we will talk about that will help you watch out for trouble that can make your business and personal life even difficult. And then how to find support. As I mentioned when talking about the Business Center, we are here to help folks who are in business, start a business, who are entrepreneurs. And that's not just having a session like this or even a course like our business plan course. We're there as a resource in our community to help people do well and advance in their own businesses. Then we'll talk about some taking action things and give you some resources to work with. And again, remember, this is being recorded, so we will share the recording later if you want to review, because there's a lot of stuff. All right, so who the heck am I? So my name is John Kaler. I am an entrepreneur. I've been, besides working full-time jobs, I've also been a freelancer in doing, I'm trying to let somebody in at the same time. There are too many things jumping up because for some reason I got a chat thing. To do video media communications work. I made that full-time about 10 years ago as my, quote, pre-retirement job, and I continue to do that today. When I get off of here, I'll be working on a video for a client. And as well, I also, for the Business Center, kind of help run the online courses as a facilitator. And I am, along with my colleague who I saw on the list, we help to actually present the business plan course. We'll talk more about that later. So that's me. But why don't you tell a little bit about yourself? And feel free to turn on your microphone, turn on your camera if you wish, and introduce yourself. What are you working on? Are you currently working for yourself? What interests you have that brought you here or have you to think about working? And what's the one thing you hope to gain from today's workshop? And I see Aminata, is that correct?
That is correct, and good afternoon to you all. My name, as you said, is Aminata Sandra Calhoun. I am retired, but not retired. What I mean by that, I'm officially by the system retired, but I continued working a full-time job. Right quickly, my full-time job, I am the director of sanitation and environmental programming with Centennial Parkside CDC. Presently, insofar as looking at a business of my own, I'm hoping or working towards one of my business would be marketing and selling my artwork that I began November 1, 2024, and still working to bring about a body of work. My medium is sheetrock, where I repurpose sheetrock into fine art.
Wow.
If I could, with that, I would love to have a sustainable warehouse. A sustainable hardware store, as it is called. A sustainable hardware store would be a hardware store that is retailing sustainable and organic items, such as organic paint, organic supplies and products, such as opposed to sheetrock. But I would like to there be a place where contractors and construction workers could purchase hemp as a building material and other sustainable and organic cleaning materials. So I think I'll stop there, but if it's not anything else you need to know.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for telling us about you and introducing yourself. I'm going to jump into the colleague that I mentioned already, since I talked about him, and that's Ron Williford. Ron, why don't you introduce yourself, and then I'll let Mia talk.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ron Williford. I'm professionally I'm a financial consultant. I have my own business, Philadelphia Financial Consultants, and I'm also on the call as the president of the board for the Business Center. So I'd like to, on behalf of the Business Center, welcome everyone here today, and hopefully you'll be able to pick up some information that will be beneficial to your business. Thanks and enjoy.
Thanks, Ron. Maya, if I have your name pronounced correctly.
Yes, it's Maya Makeda, but Maya's fine, and you pronounced it correctly. And hey, Ron, I know Ron from other circles. So,
hello, Maya.
I'm good. So I'm on here because I would like to actually take some time to implement the business ideas that I have. I retired from corporate this April, and I'm currently a full-time MDiv student at United Lutheran Seminary. So my business idea is very much mission driven. So I work with survivors of sexual abuse and assault. I have a book, and I would like to get the book out, but also I have coaching packages that I would like to package and sell to sell to churches and train trainers to see the coursework, the curriculum implemented on a wider basis across the nation, eventually the world.
That's excellent. ULS, in its former life as the Lutheran Theological Seminary at Philadelphia, was my teaching and communications home for over almost 20 years, and I still do work for them. And it's a wonderful school. My wife has 2 degrees from there. So best wishes on that and on your objectives. I see Jan. Jan, why don't you tell about yourself?
Now, yes, good afternoon, everyone. Forgive me for not turning the camera on. Still having my lunch. Um, my name is Jan Coker, and I am a government worker. So I am currently on administrative leave. and, until the end of the year, and then I'll be retired officially. And my idea is to, I have a passion of mine that I'm working on that I want to turn into a faith-based business, ministry and business, to educate and empower the community. And it's a passion I've had for like over 20 years. That'll promote healing for teens and the undeserved and the elderly. So that's kind of where I am. I'm trying to sort out the idea, and that's what brought me here.
That's great. Hopefully this will help you to sort the idea, as that's kind of the rest of our objectives. This is for folks who are looking at ways to move forward and being an entrepreneur. I won't call on anyone, but I will invite anyone else to join us and tell us about yourself. And I see Tyra.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this presentation. So Tyra Johnson, and I have a nonprofit that I definitely need some help with implementing the work. So I work with domestic violence survivors, and I do workshops on DV prevention as well as awareness to teen dating violence. I recently just left my government job because I want to really focus solely on this. This is my passion, going into the schools as well as the shelters and administering the help that's needed for the individuals that I work with. And I'm hoping to gain additional a clear path on how to ascertain maybe a better business plan so that I can present, so hopefully future partnerships can form, just so I could become, I feel like a leader more in the community.
That's excellent. Yeah. A great objective in an area that's well needed. Anyone else want to tell us about yourself and contribute? We always leave it optional, but that's okay. So again, welcome. Let's jump right in then with our session for today. By the way, if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat. I have a chat window here. I have the attendee window here. There are windows all over the place that I'll be watching for. And so let us begin. So we have these 5 steps we're going to go through. Let's start by exploring your options. This is something that some folks have well-framed options. Some folks, when they're coming to this point, really say, I want to work for myself, but I really don't know what. So let's just get to the basics. What exactly does it mean to be self-employed? And that's pretty much anyone who makes income directly from customers. And that may be by selling them things, by providing them with services, by, in the case of a nonprofit, by following your objectives to assist people. It means typically generating income. That's the whole idea of being in business for yourself. And there are many different ways you can do this. You can be self-employed as a sole proprietor, as I have been actually for, wow, actually think of it, I started doing video production for outside clients in 1984. Oh my God. and but you can also be working with temporary workers, a contract worker, consultant, freelancer. It's now called gig work instead. There are many different ways that you can work. You can get paychecks from people. You can be a so-called 1099 worker, which is how your income is reported to the federal government, so you can be taxed at the end of the year. So there are all kinds of possibilities on what it may mean to be self-employed. What does work for yourself mean? This is a worksheet that if you downloaded the toolkit, it's on pages 8 to 9. And again, this is being recorded. So if you want to go back and review this stuff before, after the fact, and you haven't downloaded the toolkit, well, you'll be able to do that and follow forward. So think about what you see on here, the ideas of what it means to be self-employed. And there's a little checklist that you could check off that says, what are the advantages that you like? Be your own boss. Define how you choose to do and not do things. Shape the business around your ideas instead of working for others who want you to carry out their ideas. There may be financial advantages for your hard work. You don't think you're getting paid enough, but you know that you have customers who would compensate you the way you think you should be compensated. You can name your own hours, kind of. When I'm doing a video shoot, my clients tell me when they need to do it. And you can grow or don't grow your idea as it suits you. And you may or may not hire people that you choose. The challenges: you may risk failure. All businesses that start up do not survive. You may make the wrong decisions, so there's no boss or no company that is responsible for the consequences of your decisions. It's all up to you. You don't automatically get benefits like healthcare. You may be able to bring in enough revenue to do that. You may decide to get on a different way. You may have a spouse or significant other who has healthcare. You may be old enough to be on Social Security and especially be on Medicare, where you may qualify for Medicare as healthcare. Income can fluctuate dramatically. Most of us who were freelancers lost a great deal of business during COVID because our clients weren't working. They weren't doing things. And it took a while for that to come back. You have to keep strict records. All the records of a business are your responsibility. All of your tax payments, all of your costs, all of your revenue, that all is on you. And the IRS will want to see them. You may have to do things you don't like. My wife will tell you, I don't like to do billing, but it has to be done, or else you can't pay for things. You may have added expenses that you don't anticipate, or there may be expenses that are purely because you are now in business for yourself. You may have to work in an unstructured work environment because you don't have somebody who's laying out the office and doing all of that stuff. And you may put in long hours or different hours or work nights or work weekends. Like I said, with a video shoot, I go when the client needs me. So if they are doing things in the night, and I've shot that sometimes, or on weekends, I do work for church groups. Why? You may end up working on Sunday morning when you'd rather be either watching television, sleeping, or being in your own worship service. So you have to add these things up to do a reality check on what it requires to be self-employed. Just having your own business is not the only thing. Click back to this one. Another important question is, what's your disposition? And this is on page 12 of the workbook, and you can think about all of these things yourself if you don't have it in front of you to figure out where it is, where you are in this whole thing. Do you have the disposition to be self-employed? Because it definitely takes a certain disposition to work for yourself. Before we get into the rest of it, are you comfortable working for long stretches by yourself? Now, as a video producer, I am used to that. But on the other hand, I try to get out and work with people as well. Or are you not sure? Can you make tough decisions without the input from many or any people? Should I invest in this? Should I take this job? Should I? All kinds of questions. Are you self-motivated? If you really need somebody else to get you going in the morning, or work through until a project is done, and then when it comes to video, a project's done when it's done, and it may require work at any hour. Why? Does that fit with you? Do you have the patience to teach yourself how to do things like learning a new computer program, learning an accounting program, uh, doing things that you haven't done before? But it's not a training program that somebody will give you. You have to find that. Are you, let's see, where else are we here? Can you deal with income that goes up and down over time? You may get lots of checks. You may have nothing for a while. Does that work with your lifestyle, with your budget, and with your priorities? Are you comfortable not having a daily routine? Because if you're working for yourself, unless maybe you have a business where it has a 9 to 5 storefront or something, your routine will vary depending on what your clients need and what you need to do to keep the business going. And even in a 9 to 5 store, it's not 9 to 5. I managed a camera store way, way back. Yeah. The boss and I would spend extra hours doing things that were, well, I was on the clock and he made sure I was, but it still was something I didn't plan. Can you succeed without the praise and support of others? Not saying that when I do a good thing, a good video or good photos or something for my clients, they don't appreciate it and let me know. But sometimes it doesn't work that way. How organized are you? Can you organize all the paperwork? Can you organize your day? And are you comfortable, again, with that word risk? Are you comfortable handling risks? There are no right answers to this, but that can help you get a picture of who you are and if working for yourself is right for you. So we kind of touched on these, but we'll get a little more in detail on this. And those are the main categories of self-employment. Here comes somebody else joining us. Hey, all right, they're admitted. It could be a part-time side business. As I mentioned, I started doing video work and named my own company, Prospect Productions, in 1984. Because I had a VP that I worked for who then left the company and went to Saudi Arabia and had great ideas and made some money. So he came back and he said, "Do you want to do this with me?" And I said, "Yeah, it sounds cool." And that's what got me started. People recognized the skills that I had and they wanted to take advantage of them. And in a business, compensate me for them. Are you doing, whoops, can't click on this without making it change. There's so-called gig work or freelancing or contracted services. Freelancers and contractors are paid for the work they perform hourly or on a project basis. That's all the work that I do. I either get paid by the hour or on a contract basis that, frankly, I price out based on about how many hours I think it's going to take, what tools I need, and all of that. You can get into a micro business. These are self-owned businesses with 5 or fewer employees. Many of them involve spouses, significant others, close relatives, friends as part of that business. But it's not where you are hiring everybody. There tends to be a relationship there. And then nonprofits and social enterprises. I also led a nonprofit for a good number of years before COVID changed everything for the clients that we were providing services for. These are social enterprises that are businesses. They still have to deal with the IRS. They still have to deal with banks and everything else that any other business does. But the goal is to generate, I call it revenue. And I worked at public television, so they also talked about it being revenue rather than profits. But you really have to have more revenue than your expenses to keep going. But at the same time, you're doing good in the community with specific goals and aims in mind. All right. Importance of goals. Goals and things in mind. Well, that's exactly what we're looking at now. Something to think about. Before starting a business, it's important to understand your goals and what you value. wanting to get out of the office and do things on your own and I'm happy with anything isn't really a good goal. Think about what matters to you personally and professionally. Is doing the work that you love, which is what I do, a goal? Well, that made it make sense to go into freelance work. How does working for yourself help you achieve your goals? I had a lot of opportunities when I was working with others. Like I said, I worked in public broadcasting, I worked at academic institutions, but at the same time, working for myself gave me a chance to find the variety and the type of clients that I like to deal with. And they're pretty much all nonprofits. Ultimately, only you can decide what your goals are and how what you do can help you achieve them. But it's important to have these goals in mind as we go through this and as you go into business, so you're not sitting there one day saying, what do I really want to get out of this? But rather, this is what I want to do. This is meeting a goal that I have for myself. Things to keep in mind: money. Very important, and there's some important metrics in here. As your own boss, you're responsible for benefits, taxes, paying for your phone and your other resources. And if they don't get paid, how can you do business? And then I buy technology and I have licenses and there's a whole bunch of stuff. Studies show that entrepreneurs should set aside at least 30% of their earnings to cover expenses that you're usually paid for by an employer: healthcare, taxes, buying a camera so that I could use it at work, a whole range of things that you need to consider. So the questions: how much do you need to make to cover your expenses, to cover the healthcare coverage, to cover taxes, to cover your expenses of daily living? How much work will it take for you to generate the income you need? If you come up with a number of, say, I need $1,000 a week, then how much work will it take for you to raise that $1,000? Will it require you to work 7 days a week? Can you do that in your grand master plan of, well, if I'm working for myself, I'm only going to work 3 days a week and I'll do something else the rest of the time? Some folks actually have that dream. Some of them actually are achieving it. But those are questions. I can tell you that in the business plan course, Ron's the accountant and the money guy. And we start out not by teaching you how to do a business plan, but to do a personal plan, because it so much affects your business and your personal life. And there is a free online budget calculator, AARP. Well, it's in the toolkit, and it's on the recording here. You can check out later to help you to answer these questions. So here's an example. Susan needs to earn $30,000 a year to cover her basic expenses. And this is everything that she needs in order to maintain her life and her lifestyle, if she's at whatever level her goals allow. So how much does Susan need to make in a year with her self-employment venture to cover her expenses? If anybody has a guess, why don't you put it in the chat? How much does Susan need if she needs to earn $30,000 a year to cover expenses, to make an income in order to cover her self-employment venture and all of her expenses? This is before you do profit or any of that other stuff. Anybody have a guess? Okay. Well, how about if I give you the answer? What if I click on this again? There we go. So remember, 30%. So in other words, you need to multiply that number of $30,000 that she has determined are going to be her expenses, and another $9,000 in order to cover those expenses typically paid by an employer, such as healthcare and taxes. And with the cost of healthcare alone these days, that may be a very low number compared to what it actually will be. And it all depends on where you get your healthcare coverage and also your other expenses. And remember, taxes are something that you have to pay yourself. If you are in business as a self-employed person, unlike if you're working for an employer where 7.5% of your income goes to Social Security, you have to pay the 7.5% that the employer also pays. So instead of 7.5%, it's 15% that needs to be paid every year just for the Social Security and related taxes that you pay. That's beyond any other taxes that there are. So that means you have to make sure that that 130% number at least is there in order to make sure that you are covered. And that's no profit, no anything else, no business expenses that you will incur that are different for working for yourself, like a $1,000 camera or a $2,000 computer. I have been admitting folks, and so I have to go to different screens that I'm seeing here. So, based on what we've covered so far, what do you think? Is self-employment right for you? And you might look at this, and if anybody has any comments on it. So your considerations again, self-employment, which model suits you? Is it being part-time business on the side, freelancing, owning a micro business, starting a social enterprise or nonprofit? Is your family or personal circle supportive of your self-employment? If your family depends on your income and then you decide to be an entrepreneur, are they comfortable with all of those things we talked about that are positives and negatives? Where would you work? Would you work at home? Would you work outside the home? Is the kind of business that you're considering in those goals something that allows you to work from home? I work from a nice office in our new house that gives me a lot of space to work, places for my video gear and all of that stuff. And I was doing that before we moved here. But that may not be the case for everyone. Do you need employees to get started? If your goal is to have something that requires several other people, that would be an important yes. And how soon would you like to get started? Questions and answers. Anybody have any thoughts about this as we've gone through the things to be considering in starting your own business, or any experience maybe you'd like to share? You feel free to just turn your microphone on if you want and share with us. But if not, I understand. You know, we've already thrown all of this stuff at you to consider in working for yourself. Okay, so now I'm finished throwing things at you. And let's take and pack that together in finding your focus. Feeling good? Feeling encouraged? Feeling like maybe this will work for you? To work for yourself? All right. Yeah. Let's see. So let's get started. So you really need to know yourself before you decide that you are going to work for yourself. Well, gee, that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Because you're working with yourself as well as for yourself. So some questions to ask yourself, and this refers to page 19 in that toolkit. What do you like? What do you dislike? And remember, there are things that you're going to have to do that you dislike. What are you really good at, and what do you need to work on? If you want to be a photographer, but you don't have a lot of photographer skills, do you need to work on that? Okay, so let's explore these a little bit. Look at what you like and what you're good at. What ideas suggest themselves for self-employment? If you love gardening, you might want to be a good part-time florist or a landscaper. I like to write. I like to do video. I like to do photography. They were all skills that I was fortunate to develop with a number of different employers who encouraged me to continue on. I like it. I really do. What do I dislike? What do you dislike? Is working for yourself give you an opportunity to avoid what you don't like or what you're not good at? If you don't like working with others, does working for yourself allow you more of an opportunity to work just with yourself or selected people? If you dislike driving, do you want a job that will have you on the road all the time? If you dislike sitting around, will you find something as your self-employment that requires you to sit around in an office for long periods of time to maybe do paperwork. And then based on thinking about that, your likes and dislikes, things you're good at and things you need to work on, identify a few self-employment opportunities that might be a match for you. And some of you folks have some very specific ideas that hopefully fit into those categories and answer those questions. So let's start bringing things out. Prioritizing your goals and ideas. As you explore self-employment, the challenge really is to not only find the right idea, but narrow your options down to the best idea from that right idea. I know that the experience that Ron and I have had in at the business plan course is that some folks begin the course and they want to do this 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 and they have all these great ideas and I want to do books and I want to do this and I want to do that. But all of a sudden they realize that I can't do all of that. So think about not only what is the right idea, but the best idea. Look at your list of self-employment opportunities, that list that we talked about earlier. What idea excites you the most and why? Would it be the cheapest or easiest to get started and why? If you have a great plan that requires you to have a $60,000 truck and you don't have the means to get a $60,000 truck, that may be something to think about. What would be the hardest and most expensive way to get started and why? What aligns best with your current lifestyle? If you really like to do a 9-to-5 job and have your nights and weekends for yourself, is the self-employment idea that you have fit in with that lifestyle? Again, there's that question of, will your family most likely support you? If you're getting resistance from those around you, that may make it challenging. And what would most disrupt your current lifestyle? And most of the work that I did, I was not working 9-to-5, even though theoretically I was working in an office or something like that. So the idea that I would be as a freelance person working on the hours that my clients were telling me they needed me really fit in because my lifestyle was to be flexible on that. This is something you can work on pages 22 and 23 of that toolkit that we've mentioned before. Okay. So what is your idea? We've had all these questions, we've had all these things and how they relate or don't relate to each other. After this webinar, you'll still be thinking about it. So we're going to talk about a couple of worksheets in the toolkit that will help you put this together. And you might find that the Business Center would be a great place to help you through, if you need assistance in kind of getting these ideas together. Our business plan course is a lot for a lot of folks who take it, a place where they work on their big idea. Folks consult with us or just chat with us about what your big idea is. But you do have to bring that all together because without that big idea, you may have so many ideas that you can't focus on the next step. And that next step is making a plan. As you work through that big idea, it's important to understand what you need to be successful. I hope I mentioned the startup that I am CEO of. We've actually been working on this for about 6-7 years. And it's a group of folks that have known each other and been connected in various ways for over 2 decades, amazingly. And so the great idea, and it is a great idea, but I won't share it with you, has seen shifts and changes as the rest of the world has changes, as our team has come up with new ideas. And the cool part is that we're actually moving into doing it. But you have to have a plan. Our business plan has changed 4 times in those 6 years. Yep. So what do entrepreneurs need to make a plan? According to the Association of Enterprise Opportunity, there are 4 key elements that micro businesses need to be successful. And these pretty much apply in slightly variable ways to if you're a freelancer or you're a 1099 employee or just do gig work, but they're all important to consider. Capacity. What's your ability to grow your business? As a video producer, I only have a certain hours in the day to do the work that's required. Can I take on another job, therefore? How complex can that job be? How much revenue can I make from it to make it worth doing that? Confidence. Do you feel prepared and optimistic about your chance of success? Do clients, if you have a few, encourage you to move forward? Are they finding you other clients, which is often the way that folks build their client list when they're doing freelance work, when they're self-employed? A big question. Access to capital. Like I said, I have cameras, I have computers, I have all these other things. Depending on your business idea, you may need the drywall to do artwork, or paints to do artwork, or a good, reliable car to go and visit clients. You may not have the funds for it, but what kind of access to funding, micro lending, and other materials is there for you to build the capital that you need to move into business? And then, mentioned this before already, but it's a very important one, connections. Do you know folks who can support you, who might know others that can support you, can help you build your client base? And be thinking about how those folks can help you. The one thing that's been interesting over the years, and that we see at the Business Center in particular, is that there are groups that then work together and support each other. And there are always connections that are being made that help them build their business, that help support and help folks succeed as entrepreneurs. So you are not alone, even though you work alone. There are other folks who are there who are willing and able to help you as you move forward. And that's page 28 on the toolkit. I'm going to take a sip of tea. Okay, excuse me on that. It is allergy season still. We have not had a frost yet. So there's a thing called a SWOT analysis that every planning course goes through, that my startup has gone through as we've pivoted to different directions. Same idea. It's a great idea. Everybody tells us it is. But to make it happen, that's something different. So the SWOT analysis is a really important thing. Again, this is page 31 in the toolkit. Strengths. What does your company do well? What do you do well as an entrepreneur? And what separates you from competitors? What makes you different? Or are you just another storefront on the block that looks like all the other ones? What resources do you as an entrepreneur have yourself or within that group of people who support you? And what assets do you have? Things like intellectual property, technology, access to technology that you need to do what work you plan to do. And then there's a question of what weaknesses do you have? Things like that your company lacks. Even though I'm in a startup that's developing cloud technology, we didn't have all the skilled people, and we had to actually find them, and that costs money. What do your competitors do than you do? I admit that I am not a really great wedding photographer because it never really interested me. And the few times that I did it with a friend of mine who was, the biggest takeaway he had was that brides are really difficult to work with. And then what resources do you have as limitations? Do you, again, going back to those strengths, not have those tangible assets that you need? What other things do you need? Maybe knowledge. Maybe skills that you might have to develop. There are weaknesses that you need to lay out in this SWOT analysis, in these little blocks that are up there. What opportunities are you facing that you can help to grow? What areas need to be improved in your company? We heard our one person who talked about a nonprofit. Lots of nonprofits have opportunities, and they identify them in the areas where they want to build their company. What trends or conditions may positively impact? Little further exposure and disclosure. The company I'm building is based around AI technology. We had these brilliant ideas and knew that AI would get there, but is it there? And now it is. What emerging needs are there for a product or service? Folks years ago didn't need something that now there's a great need for, and you may be the one to deliver them. Are there many or few competitors in your area? Again, if you're looking at a storefront and every storefront in that same relative area is doing similar things to you, is that an opportunity? And what underserved markets are there that you've identified who you can serve? And then what threats are there? Potential external problems your business might face. You have significant debt that you have to be worried about. That could be an external problem. It's yours, but it's also out there because your bank might be coming after you. It could be it could be licensing that is a problem that your business might face, especially if you cannot meet the requirements. There may be emerging competitors. One thing that, again, my startup watches keenly is anybody else doing the same thing? Do we have to pivot in our ideas? And regulatory changes, which go on all the time, especially for businesses that require regulation, require government approval. And it may even be in what kind of tax laws we have and other opportunities and threats. So SWOT analysis is really an essential thing to do. It's a process that I know my colleagues and I in the startup do about every 6 months, just to make sure that we recognize those threats, that we identify our weaknesses. Have we improved them? Are there other ones there? Because you always have to be ready for the next step and the steps beyond. Okay, so that's a SWOT analysis. It's something that anyone at this point, even though you may not be in a business yet, should still be thinking about to determine if you will be able to do this business you have in mind successfully. Boom. Business and marketing planning, page 32. Business plans, yes, business plans and marketing plans are not the same thing. A business plan gets into the aspects of your business itself. And many investors require a business plan because they want to see that you have in your head, in your design, how your business is going to succeed and, very important, make money. Business plans include an overview of your industry, a plan to market your idea. It's not a marketing plan, it's a plan to market your idea. A financial plan. What are your expenses going to be? What is your revenue going to be? Are you going to break even? When? How? An up-to-date budget that is clear and complete, so there are no unexpected and unanticipated expenses coming up. With our startup, even though we're not spending a lot of money because we're still working on development, our CFO every month has to give us a up-to-date budget, a 5-year strategy. Where will your business be in 5 years? If you don't have a forward-looking strategy, how can you pivot to something if things are changing? But you need to have that plan ahead. An operating plan. How will you actually do this? Okay, I'm going to be a video producer. How am I going to make it work? Well, I need to make sure I have the cameras. I need to make sure the technology and skills. I need to know how this works. I need to have plans for billing and invoicing and all of those things. And then remember that SWOT analysis? That's always part of a business plan too. Okay, so now you have the business plan. Then there's a marketing plan. How do you get people to be your customers, your users, the people that you support? And if you're in a nonprofit, it's often not only the clients that you support, but it is the funders who support you to support their clients. One of my clients is a really good nonprofit that serves people with food banks and housing assistance. So they have to both market to people who are going to use their services. At the same time, they approach and talk with and develop that support network that keeps them going. And the video that I will be working on later today is for their annual fundraiser to both thank and ask for funding in the future for that business. Branding. Who knows what Meta is? Well, Meta is that big overall big company that is some real things and some ideas. That includes Facebook and Instagram and all that other stuff. Tyra, thanks. Glad to have you with us. And yes, do follow up with us. We'll follow up with you with information. So have a good rest of the day. So branding is very important. That way people quickly and easily recognize you. They know who you are. Marketing plan includes pricing. If you have good prices that are going to make you positive revenue, i.e. profit, then you have to be able to figure that out beforehand. The biggest challenge in my startup is that we really don't know what it's going to cost yet. So we really don't know how much to charge for it. And if we do come up with a pricing plan, who's going to be willing to pay? A challenge that we are constantly facing. Maybe easier for you if you're simply providing personal services or something like that. Again, back to that SWOT analysis, competition. Yeah, it's not only there as part of your business planning, but it's also part of your marketing. What are the other companies doing? What is McDonald's doing compared to Burger King and Wendy's and the corner store that makes great breakfasts? Distribution. How do you get that product out? If you're doing a service, how do you provide that service? And then how do you market that? Lots of places are using Instacart to sell their products. That's a way to distribute things. What kind of things are there to reach your clients, your customers, and how will you do it? And then success strategies. The biggest question that I have for my board in our nonprofit is, what if we are wildly successful? Because what we're looking at is things that could go from a couple $100,000 a month to, if it blows up, to millions. Well, then what do we do? That's a question for anyone in any business you're in. If you are being successful, what are your strategies to manage, plan for success? And you should do that because it really is a goal of being an entrepreneur. All right, what have we got next? So now into the financing part of this. This may vary depending on what kind of business you are thinking of. Nonprofits, of course, have some different things that they are dealing with as part of funding and where the fundings come from. Fun fact, while financing may seem like a huge barrier to getting started, it's important to remember that 80% of startups never need external funding. And so looking at this, the amount of money you need to get started varies depending on the type of self-employment, the type of business or service you're going to be in. With a photographer, I can tell you how much it would cost to get started as far as equipment goes. If I'm simply a writer, that will be a different thing. If you're going to be providing a product or services that have significant expenses, that may be different. So where can the money come from? Personal investments, personal funds, friends and family. And you will often hear when somebody has a startup that friends and family funding is important. So you may have an idea that you've thought of, that you're developing, that you then go to somebody and talk about it, and they say, that really sounds cool. How can I get in? And that's where your friends and family investments come from. External financing sources, loans. Loans require, of course, backing. So a loan may be that you put your house up as the backing for a loan. But with organizations like the Business Center, we can help connect you with loans that make sense for what you're doing. And then more and more, it's crowdsourcing. There are crowdsourcing by crowdfunding, and that's where folks will give you money in the hopes of getting something back. That is a crowdfunding thing. Crowd lending, on the other hand, has that lending piece. You will be expected, hopefully, to pay back afterwards. And those are all over. But again, remember, financing seems huge for many people who are getting started, but it's important to remember that 80% of startups never need external funding. If you planned well and you planned on a revenue plan, you may find that you don't need it. But that depends on what your plan and what your goal is with your business. Okay, so these are all great things, but there can also be some mistakes that you want to avoid. And it can be really, really tempting if you are starting your own business for yourself. Financing your self employment in ways that won't jeopardize your financial future. So, credit cards are not a good thing. They are expensive. They keep getting more expensive as the cost of money goes up. But you can also end up in a hole that you can't get out of. And then retirement savings. Retirement savings are there to use at retirement. So you don't want to dig into them, especially if you are not at retirement age. And there is a penalty, which is significant, to take out your retirement savings. And this is touched on well on page 35 of the handbook. It's often difficult for self-employed individuals or micro businesses to receive loans and equity financing. And that's because you really don't have a basis that a lender would be looking at, or that a funder, and equity financing is funding based on getting a part of your business, because you likely don't have a track record. So in the toolkit, there are resources starting on page 63 to guide you to some places that can help you access these services, because they are out there. And that's one place where the Business Center comes in often for folks who work with the Business Center, because we have connections to those resources. In those 25 years the Business Center has been helping people, we've developed those connections. We have the people who can help guide you to move forward. It's there. It can be daunting to think about, oh man, I can't pay the bills this month. Well, big businesses have that problem too. As you see, they go bankrupt. But it's something that if you work on those things, that SWOT analysis, business plan, marketing plan, those are steps to assure your success. Okay, so we want to assure your success, but there are troubles to watch out for. Now, some of this may seem a little bit definitely at a 50-plus audience, but the way things are going today and the stories that you hear that are real, it really is something that AARP wanted to make sure that folks are clearly warned about, to think about, to watch out for. A colleague in a committee that I'm working, actually doing research, clicked the wrong link in an email. That wrong link click got his bank accounts opened and his bank accounts cleaned out. Now, he's fortunate in that his banks have been very cooperative, but when the money that you expected for all different kinds of things isn't there anymore, there are issues, and they're out there. So let's talk about these things. Scams. There are a couple of different areas of scams, and some of them are directed directly at working from home. Let's look at them. 95% of work for home search results are fake. So if you go in there and you look for something where you can work from home, there are scams like envelope stuffing, home assembly, mystery shopping, rebates, online surveys, pyramid schemes, medical billing. These are all things that are out there and they're common. I get so much spam in my email, especially my business email for some reason. I don't know why, because I don't use it that much except for very business specific purposes. And yet they find your email address, they want to sell you stuff. Same thing on a telephone. You just asked the question, and let's see. And there's also another question. Looking at all the different screens. The PowerPoint will be available, yes. The workbook, we've supplied a link in the email that we sent out to remind you of the session today. And I'll be sure to point to that again, that you can get a download of the PDF of the workbook. It's a very nice workbook, actually. And yeah, I printed it out because I like real paper things. But if you know, that's right, this stupid background, you can't see it. It has a smiling woman on the front, just like you saw in the beginning. But yes, that can be downloaded at no charge. Da, 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 da. And the business center itself is located in Mount Airy, and we'll touch on that as we move forward. Let's see. Volume keeps turning down. That's interesting. I know that I'm on a high-speed internet connection, and that's why I use this thing. So I'm not sure what's going on. But Zoom can be Zoom. So, things to do if you are looking into something that you think might be a scam. These days, assume it's a scam. So many out there doing this stuff. Check out the company, and that means doing research through Better Business Bureau, doing searches for it on the internet through a search tool like Google. Ask questions before you would accept anything. Know specifically when, how, and how much you will be paid. And if you are victimized, take action. These folks are typically breaking laws, though some of them, especially in the phone scams that are out there, are able to break the laws because they're taking advantage of technologies where they really aren't regulated, and they're not able to. Way back in the day, there was a scammer who kept calling me at my home. And back in those days, because you could track their real phone number and find out where they are, I was able to report them to the Attorney General of Pennsylvania. And so they are out there, but some of these scammers have become incredibly sophisticated.
Mm-hmm.
A definite don't ever put any money down up front. If somebody is wanting you to do business, Janelle, that's great. Yeah, I'm glad the volume's better. Zoom can be like that some days. If they want you to give them money first, red flag, big time. Don't fall for false promises. If it sounds too good to be true, yeah, it's true. And if you just don't have a good feeling about it, trust yourself. Don't work for any company without knowing who your specific contact is, knowing about the company, and verifying all that stuff through another source. They give you an email address, email. See what happens when it comes back. Look up that URL that goes along with it. I really get concerned when folks use a Gmail address as their business address. I actually got something with a company that I'm now working with my startup that came from Gmail. And I sent a note back and said, okay, I've researched you and everything. Why do you use a Gmail address to send this information? And they said, well, it seems more personal. And I said, it seems more scammy. I started getting emails from that person's business email address. So work for a company. Don't ever work for a company if you don't know who your contact is. And then there are tax scams. These are out there, and some folks, again, fall for them. Which email is best to use? If you are starting a personal business, get a domain. So, for instance, my business's domain is Prospect Productions. I don't use it much because in my everyday life, the clients that I know I've been working with for years, and so I do have them use my very personal email, so I immediately get. But creating so yes, for you're an entrepreneur business, don't use a Gmail address. It just is one of, anybody can get a Gmail address, multiples of them. I probably have about 10 of them. And then, frankly, Gmail also has a business version. So the emails that come from the business center, like the one I sent today, that's on a Gmail platform. And so it has all the advantages of Gmail, but it also means if you get an email from me at thebusinesscenter.com, you know that it's coming from a person at thebusinesscenter.com. So it just raises up the bar to where you have that identity. And remember, we talked about branding that says you are in business. Getting a domain name is about $20 a year. And then setting up a commercial email to go along with it depends on what provider you have. I forget what Gmail charges now, but I know that for Sine, we're paying like $12 a month for that Cine.com. That's my startup. That's Cine.com email address for all of our staff. Because if we're sending out emails to people who we're asking for money, we want them to know that brand identity that we've built is part of it. And so that's really what you should be using. You can use a mailbox service, yes, as part of it. But again, tied to that brand, that domain really shows that you are hopefully in business. Scams, on the other hand, so we have this thing up about tax scams. Steve is 63 years old. He receives a threatening phone call from an IRS agent informing him that he owes $3,000 in back taxes due immediately, or he will be subject to significant fines and imprisonment. The agent provides a phone number to call where Steve can arrange payment and solve the problem immediately. These scams happen all the time. And of course, Steve is panicking because it's the IRS. But how do you know if it's really the IRS? What should Steve do? Well, simple. The IRS doesn't call you demanding immediate payment and asking you for a credit card number, or even worse, using Venmo. But you see these scams out there all the time. They will never demand immediate payment or call without first sending you something in the mail, an official IRS document. They will never demand you pay taxes without allowing you to question or appeal. And you usually need to use an expert like Ron to help you through this process if you really do believe you have taxes that you owe. They will never ask for payment over the phone, and they will never threaten to bring the police or other agencies to arrest you for not paying. But this is all stuff that happens. So this is coming from real world experiences of people. Just remember, never. If you do receive a call from someone, do not give any information, hang up immediately. We are now at our point in our house where this number we transported from a home that we lived in for over 20 years to where the answer machine answers every call. Well, it immediately eliminates at least a dozen calls a day from people who are wanting something or claiming something or whatever. If you do get something as specific as someone who claims to be an IRS agent, contact the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration and report it. As I said back a long time ago, the experience I had was something, it wasn't IRS, but it was something that was equally irritating. I reported them to the Pennsylvania Attorney General, and they followed up. They followed up on where the stuff was coming from, and they actually enforced the law and reported the Federal Trade Commission. These are things that people do that are illegal. They know that if they get 1 out of 100 people to send them money, that they will, and they get away with it, just encourages them to do it again. And that's where it gets really complicated in your life. So remember, no. But speaking of taxes, and I mentioned this already, self-employment makes a different part of taxes in your life. And there are different levels. Income tax. You need to pay income tax. Depending on where you live, you may also have to pay state and local taxes. You may also have to have certain licenses. Philadelphia is a very complex place if you live in Philadelphia. Or if you do work in Philadelphia, but you don't live there. It gets really complicated. But you do have to pay. And if you don't, you need to talk to Ron, because eventually you do have to pay. Self-employment tax, and I mentioned this before. So everyone who is employed has to pay a portion of the Social Security tax. But with the business pays the other half normally. Your employer pays it. But you, as self-employed, you are the employer. So you have to pay that entire amount, both the employer share and the individual share. So you immediately have a lot more to pay. And again, you're dealing with the IRS, and they like to get the money that you legitimately owe them. If you are in retail and a bunch of other services in Pennsylvania, So this is something where you need to talk to people who are knowledgeable of this to make sure you're doing things properly. Operations may have to pay sales tax to both their local. Philadelphia has a 2% tax. I think it's still 2%. And the state. The way it used to be, folks would then do business with people outside of the state, and they wouldn't have to pay tax, though Pennsylvania called it, required you to pay the tax you would have paid if you bought something in Delaware, let's say, or from Amazon. That's all gone. So if you are somebody who is selling things anywhere in the country, you are pretty much required to collect taxes. It's built into shopping carts typically, but it still is on the business person. And there are personal services in Pennsylvania that are also included under sales tax. So maybe you're not selling a good, but you're selling a service that also requires you to pay tax. So we talked about this way back when. Be sure to keep careful records of income and expenses. Putting papers in the shoebox is really great until you go to your tax accountant who looks at you cross-eyed and with a very big frown and says, that's not the way to do it. And we'll teach you how. Seek advice about which receipts and documents you should hold on to. Get advice from folks, and that's another place where the Business Center can help you. And there are lots of other folks out there. I just mentioned the Business Center because we really, really, really help folks to succeed in business. Okay. Yes, download the toolkit, Amanita, and I will be sending out follow-ups in this, and we hope that we can provide you with help in the future. Let's see, where am I now? We're almost done with this. We're moving right along. Ways to get help with your taxes, and it doesn't mean you have to go alone. At the same time, it doesn't mean that you have to be going to the businesses that do this stuff and that charge you sometimes a lot of money to do the things that maybe you don't need to pay. The AARP Foundation has tax aid, which is simply aarp.org/tax aid. There's volunteer income tax assistance, the VITA program that runs through the IRS. I will only say that with all the changes that have been going on in the federal government, hopefully this still exists. Whoops. But and there are also business assistance groups besides the Business Center that can also help you with taxes. But there's the Business Center. I think this is the first time I've put the domain up here. And we are simply online at thebizcenter.com. And again, the toolkit page 44 covers this. Let's see where else we are. So, last thing. So you've done all this. You found your focus. You're making a plan. You're watching out for trouble so you don't get scammed and keep your money to what you need it for instead of giving it to a criminal. But how do you find support to succeed? That's really important. So working with you alone doesn't mean you have to be alone. You do not have to go it alone. There are micro development organizations. There are organizations and communities. There are mentors that are all there that really want to help you in the journey to build the business that I'm on as a startup. There have been a number of mentors that we have found. A lot of it was done by our CFO because he really loves this kind of stuff, who we call on and who have been great at helping us. Some of these, one guy has had, $7 billion business closes? And he talks to us because he really wants to pass it forward. So a lot of this is out there. And even if you're in a small little business, you're just starting out, there are supports out there to help you. We're going to put us up right here because this is the kind of stuff that we do. The bizcenter.com services. We have our business plan course. We have one-on-one coaching. We have loan packaging. I'm going to jump to our website in a minute. And then there are also things, again, there are certainly complications out there with the services from the federal government, but the SBA/local assistance/find There are resources out there in micro development organizations. There are also things like SCORE, which has successful business people who are then passing forward on resources, and the IRS works a lot with them, and we use some of their resources in our business plan course. But networking, being out in the community, being out in the business community you're interested in, is a really great place to learn connections. You want to get referrals from everyone. Tell people what you're doing. It's not so common anymore handing out business cards, but there are apps that let you do business cards. Yes, I will show the QR code at the end. Let's see. Attend industry and trade shows that are relevant to your self-employment venture. There are trade shows for photographers and video folks that I go to every year. Speak at local functions. There are business communities like Kiwanis and so on, where they invite volunteers to come in and talk about it. Be a volunteer in organizations. In the time that I worked in media with businesses, I often had volunteers who would come and learn the business to serve in the community. And remember, most of these are all nonprofits, so they're able to do this, and they don't necessarily have to pay people. So volunteer in organizations that interest you, that do the kind of things you're interested in. Remember to add former customers and clients to your network. In COVID, it was so important for the businesses that remained viable that they've done that. Their clients were also their friends. They had their email addresses, their phone numbers. So as things were going really bad, they were able to keep in touch with those folks and be proactive, follow up with referrals, keep up with key contacts, stay in touch with people that become your business associates and your clients. Leverage social media. And you can take a whole course on that. In the business plan course, we talk about it too, because that's a way to build networks and to maintain and grow connections. All right, so a few tech terms. The cloud, that's all that stuff up there where there are buildings and buildings and buildings full of computers burning away. Things like Salesforce, Google Drive, which is now called Google Workspace, we still call it Google Drive, Dropbox. Many things are web-based. They are up in the cloud. Mobile app markets. There's Google Pay, there's Apple Store, there's Venmo, there's all that stuff. Online tools, Amazon, MailChimp, Toggle, eBay, Expensify are all different places depending on what kind of business you want to be in. If you want to sell things, you can sell through Etsy, you can sell through eBay, you can sell through Amazon. There are several companies that we've been buying from that have their own Amazon stores, including big ones that they use. Communications tools. Skype just closed down. I should have fixed this slide because I knew it. Skype doesn't exist anymore. But there's FakeTime. There's Zoom. There's FaceTime. FakeTime. Zoom. There are a whole bunch of different tools. WhatsApp is one that's used, though it's more informal because it works in a different way. Mobile payment systems like PayPal, Square, Apple Pay again, and then the social platforms that go back into all of the social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, I still call it Twitter, Instagram, Threads, etc., etc., etc. All ways to be in contact and connection with people, build your business, grow your business, support your business are out there. So get to know those terms because somebody's going to throw it at you. What's your Venmo? I look at them and say, I don't use Venmo. My wife does. Anyway, there's another place out there called Hello Alice that has a community for sharing with other entrepreneurs. And the link is buried below this, but I'll make sure you get that link in the email that we send. That is a very good resource for folks. There's also another one that I realized I should have in the deck, but it's the deck from AARP, so they don't have it. But I'm going to take a slight detour, if you will bear with me as I make this disappear for a second. We'll come back to the slide set, and I'm going to share this one. which is, yes, Dink, the Business Center's website. So we have a lot of resources on there. We are simply the Biz Center, TheBizCTR.com. But one of them that is kind of a community that's different from Hello Alice, but that really is good, is the one that is called Get Connected. This is supported by Verizon. Yeah, the big guys, and Verizon Small Businesses and other organizations that offer digital skills, that offer connections to like-minded entrepreneurs. They have learning modules, expert coaching, peer networking, and also grant opportunities. From time to time, they offer people who use Get Connected $10,000 grants toward your business. $10,000. One of our Business Center clients just got a $10,000 grant from Get Connected. So, visit our website, take a tour through it. Another place I'll point you to is one thing that I'm going to talk about in a minute, and that is our business plan course. We actually have 2 of them, depending on how you are able to learn and how you like to learn. The one is the cohort series, which begins November 10th, and it runs through February every week, except for a few holidays that are in there. There's a 2-hour live meeting by Zoom where you meet experts. You learn from Ron and myself and others on doing a full business plan. It has online resources and as well as the live sessions. And there's also one, if you don't, you can't make it on an evening when the business plan course is going on, there's also one that is learner-paced. So if you're comfortable with working online, there is a business plan course that is learner-paced. You can start at any time. You can work at your own pace. It still gives you access to the Business Center's resources, but you have to be a learner that is pacing it and learning for yourself. So both of those are on the Business Center website and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I'm going to come back out of here and go back into the slide deck because we're almost over. Yay. Zoom changed the location of the different screens I have here. So here we are. So we talked about Hello Alice. Let's just move forward and wrap this thing up. Click on that one. Whoops. So the next thing is to take action. You've gone through all that. And now, how do you take action? You can get more information and local support. I already talked about this, and there it is. That is the Business Center, thebizcenter.com. That's our number and the email address to contact for any support that goes beyond this. It's education@thebizcenter.com. And again, there will be a follow-up email that will have this information. And so you don't have to write it down, but feel free to. So we give all kinds of assistance and coaching for businesses. Support to residents that mainly is in Northwest Philadelphia, but it's also beyond. We had several learners in the business plan course who are from Africa. Both of them I still follow and communicate with through LinkedIn. 2 young ladies who are successes out there in starting their own business, and they got assistance from the business plan course. And frankly, they're cute too. But anyway, no, back me up here. I click on the screen to point at something and it goes away. We're expanding our resources for members. You can become a member and there are additional resources, as well as helping you with financial protections, loan packaging, referrals to accounting and legal advice, to marketing advice, all the things that an entrepreneur needs to grow their business. So we are a resource. Specifically, we have the business plan course coming up in November, as well as a self-paced one. You can sign up for our e-news from any of the pages. There's a form that you can fill out that we send regular information about not only things the business plan, the Business Center is offering, but other activities in the community that we think are valuable to our clients, to entrepreneurs, and that is available to you just by signing up. And on the website, there's also an upcoming events listing that gives all of our current opportunities and links to things from there. There are also online and national resources. The Association for Enterprise Opportunity the Small Business Administration and its entrepreneur areas called Encore. Again, things are changing and fluid in the federal government, so things may or may not be available. The Better Business Bureau, well known. The AARP Foundation, and Hello Alice. Again, if you don't have time or don't want to write these down, we'll be sending that information all to you. So I'm going to click to the next thing here and put this on the screen for a little while. These are for feedback. We'd like to know, and AARP would like to know, feedback on the session. I will again include these in the email that sends you the link to the video and other resources. But if you want to do them now, why, you can click on those 2 QR codes. And while you're doing that, I'll give you a minute. I'll ask if there are any questions, and I'll also go back to the first slide so you can see the QR code for the toolkit. So, are there any questions? Feel free to put in the chat to turn on your camera and or microphone. Well, turn on your microphone, turn on your camera too if you want, if you have any questions. It's a lot of stuff that goes in this session. We used to say it is a packed session. They used to say it was an hour, and we fed back to AARP. No way. We let folks get to know each other at the beginning, and there's just a lot of stuff in here, which is why we record it, and we'll share the recording with you. Any questions? Yes. We're glad to share this information. This is what the Business Center has been doing for the last 25 years in different ways. When we were able to become a partner with AARP, it's a little more focused, but all the things that are in here, including the scams and stuff that they think seniors might fall for, people are falling for it all the time, unfortunately. But when folks can figure a way to illegally take your money, some of them will do it. And that's a sad but significant reality of life today. Let's see.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, this is Chanel. How are you?
Hi, Chanel. Good.
I'm so sorry that I was late. I actually found out about it from Miss Carla Bell. Thank goodness she just sent it over to me. And I thought that I wouldn't even be able to hear this much, but I will be so glad to listen to the recording.
Sure, absolutely.
And I mean, pretty much you guys are really right up the road from me. So I just figure if I stick with Carla, I will continue to find out great information to assist me in my private chef journey. So, wow, I actually sent her a menu and she sent me this. So thank you, Carla. I appreciate you. Thank you, John, for taking some time out your day to
Sure, absolutely. Ron does some of these, I do some of these, and it really is great to meet people, to help guide you along. We are both entrepreneurs. How long have you worked for yourself, Ron? Even longer than I have.
Yeah, I've been in this space about 40 years. But I also wanted to mention that it's Microeconomic Development Week in Philadelphia.
That's right.
If you go to our website, there's a bunch of free activities that are going on throughout the city. We've got some events going on later in the week. And there's also some additional information that's sponsored by the city of Philadelphia. So there's a whole bunch of resources, how to fund your business, which we will be participating in some of those events as well.
Yeah, I had it in my brain to mention that, but then the brain is a little fried as I'm working on this one video project.
And actually, if you go to our website, there's a link to all this information.
Yeah. Thanks, Ron.
You're welcome.
And I'm going to bring back up the initial screen that has that QR code that takes you to the toolkit. So there that is, if you want to capture that. And Carla put up the link. Thank you. And that pretty much covers what we have for today. There will be a follow-up email to everyone. And we're available to answer your questions. Ron and I will be starting up the business plan course again.
John, I just
amazingly soon. Yes.
Is yours and Ron's information in the email? Because lately I've been helping out MAG, which is located at Germantown and Mount Pleasant. There's a lot of people that are 50 plus, and they're all artists of some sort, but when it comes to some things regarding their business, they could really use a session or something. So maybe we all can get together and just make sure that those seniors are acclimated with all the things that you said today.
Absolutely. We would be glad to take the roadshow to them if there's a time that they would want to learn about this. Right, Ron?
Yeah, check out the Business Center website. We're actually doing a live event on New Covenant's campus. I forget the exact date, but you're more than welcome to register and come check us out live.
And if it's a group, we go out and talk to groups as well. So
yes, sure. We take our show on the road as well.
I'm just waking up my calendar because I can't remember what date it is that live one's going on. No, I don't want that thing here. I just want this thing here. It is do. Come on, calendar.
It's actually October 22nd. It's a Wednesday.
Right. I was thinking it was the 22nd.
Yeah. Covenant's campus.
Yeah. And there's a link on our website in the calendar under the events area, that upcoming events that will let folks register for it. And Ron's going to be doing that session.
Yeah, on the 22nd. I'll be doing that session live.
And it's also where our office is in Elders Hall.
What time?
1 p.m.
For Covenant campus?
And the New Covenant campus, 70-some hundred in Germantown Avenue. Yeah.
But is it 7500 Germantown? It's on New Covenant's campus.
Yeah, that's going to be at 1 p.m. on October 22.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And the link to register is on the Business Center website. Sure, absolutely, Carla. If you want to post this on eMan's website, that'd be great. It's always good to get the word out. We enjoy doing these sessions. We enjoy doing the business plan course and all the work we do. It's really, Business Center is a really great thing. You know, Ron and I have been volunteering for a good number of years. And Pam Richwheeler, who is the executive director, is just fabulous and fabulously connected with the business community. So the resources are there, and you're welcome to chat with us, to connect with us, and take advantage of them the best you see you could use them. All right. So there will be a follow-up once Zoom completes creating the recording. We'll post that up and send you a link. We'll send you the link for the toolkit. If you didn't get it, why, you can download it and follow along. And also, I'll send a copy of the slide deck too. But the specific links that are listed in there will be part of that follow-up email. And that probably will come out on Wednesday, because I know I need to get a drink and then start editing a video for the one nonprofit who has their fundraiser going on Thursday. And they definitely are doing well, but challenged by the things that are going on today that are affecting homeless people, that are affecting poor people in very important things like housing and food. Any other questions as we get ready to conclude here? Arrow, you're very welcome. All right. We hope to see maybe some of you on the business plan course or at Business Center events. Sign up for our email and you'll be kept up to date on that. That's just at our website, thebizzctr.com. So have a good day. I see through my blackout curtains in here. The sun is still shining. Surprisingly, the dogs have been quiet, so they don't need to go out yet. But I better do that. And I think my wife's probably home from her day, so I may be seeing her soon. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Best of luck and best of success.
Thank you.
Where you are wanting to go.
See you soon.